Hello guys, so today I will introduce you to our subject which is General Physics 1. Okay? So itong physics na ito for the entire semester will focus only on Newtonian mechanics. So pag sinabi mong Newtonian mechanics, ito yung physics created by Isaac Newton during the late 1600s. Right? So ang ibang term din dito is classical mechanics. Okay? So ito yung physics na na-observe natin in our everyday experiences. Okay? So, yun lang tayo. Nakafocus din ito sa force, motion, and energy. So, for the entire first quarter of this semester, yung mga topic natin will revolve around them. Alright, so how to do well with this class? First thing that you need is a good command of algebra and trigonometry. Okay? Kasi may mga concepts tayo that requires the application of mathematics, of algebra and trigo. Especially when we talk about vectors. Magagamit natin yan. Kaya please do review your algebra and trigonometry. Yung number 2, kailangan nyo sana to study buddy or study group. But again, because of the situation, because of the pandemic, medyo malabo nga to kasi hindi naman na tayo face-to-face na regular classroom. So, online. Paano gagawin natin? Siguro find a way na lang to talk to your classmates via GC, ganyan. Then doon kayo magtanong, hindi magtanungan ng sagot, doon kayo mag-share ng ideas ninyo ng naiisip ninyo kung paano ba didiskartihan yung mga problem sets na ibibigay ko sa inyo. Okay? Baka gawin nyo mag-share kayo ng mga sagot, ng mga answers, So please, hindi na namin kayo mamamonitor, so we will hold on to you as being honest students. Okay? So number 3, syempre, how to do well with this class, practice makes perfect talaga. May mga books naman ako na sinend sa inyo. Well, you can use them as a practice problems para ma-solve ninyo. Okay? This subject, Physics 1, is not a calculus-based physics. Okay? Hindi siya in-applyan although may mga mababanggit ako sa inyong terms, like limits and derivatives. I think calculus yan, but we will never apply it to solving problems. Okay, so hindi na. Ang ating motto sa subject na to ngayon is the simpler the better. Okay, during our online classes, during the session, nagpe-present ako ng mga concept tests. Okay, so what are concept tests? These are multiple choice questions na sasagutan ng buong klase, right, to check whether you understand the particular concept or not. Papaano ko makikita to? Siyempre, gagamit tayo ng online platform which is called an online poll will be used to gather your votes. www.mentimeter.com. Okay, so magpresent ako ng isang concept test and then send ko yung code sa inyo para makapag-cast kayo ng vote, A, B, C, or D. And then from that, makikita ko ilang percent ng students ko got the correct answer. Then ilang percent naman yung medyo nahirapan, hindi nakakasunod. Or baka hindi nakikinig, who knows. So ganon, may mga concept test tayo to check whether you are following the lesson. Right? So sinubukan ko na yan and it perfectly worked naman. Nagtry ako ng sample question dyan. Is your physics teacher handsome? And then syempre, sinagutan ko na din ng yes, he is. So kita ko kaagad sa bar graph kung ano yung magiging sagot ng mga students. Okay? Let's have an example. Concept test number 1. Ganito yung mga format ng mga concept test natin. It is really designed to check whether you understand the particular concept or not. Okay? Sige, try natin. A square with edge length L is made larger and larger as the picture depicts. As the square grows, the ratio between the length of the perimeter, yung length ng side ng square, over the area, letter A, increases ba yun? Letter B, decreases, and letter C, remain constant. Okay? So what do you think? Habang ba lumalaki yung square, yung ratio ng length sa area ay nag-i-increase din or nag-i-increase or remains constant. Alright, so let's see. The correct answer is decreases, should be letter B. Okay, so the correct answer is decreases. So, as the square goes larger and larger, yung ratio ng length of the perimeter over the area decreases. Paano nangyari yon? Kasi naman, the length of the perimeter is 4L because of the four sides, ano? While the area is meter square, so L to the power of 2. So yung 1L, ito, 1 power of L will cancel this, will cancel 1L, making it 4 over L na lang. Alright? And notice na kapag yung value ng length ay tumaas, okay? As the length increases, notice that 4 over L, syempre, it will decrease kasi lalaki yung value ng L eh. Well, let's say length is 2. Ano, so 4 over 2 is 2. And then palakihin mo itong length ng i-double mo yung length, gawin mo yung 4, then 4 over 4 is 1. So magdi-decrease talaga yung area as the magdi-decrease talaga yung ratio between the length of the perimeter over the area. Okay? So as the value of the length increases, the ratio 4 over L decreases. Okay? Now, the thing about this concept test class, is that it is never about getting the right answer. Concept test is more about the reasoning behind your answer. The reasoning behind the correct answer. Baka dapat kaya nyo ma-explain kung bakit yun yung sagot ninyo. Okay? Kasi doon mo lang masasabi na naintindihan mo yung concept if you're able to explain it. Okay? According to this very wise teacher, understanding means being able to explain a particular concept to another human being. Okay? Doon mo lang masasabi na naintindihan mo yung isang concept if you are able to explain it to another person. Another thing, most of the student thinks that memorizing is a form of learning. Actually, it's a form of learning, pero walang masyadong understanding kasi doon eh. Kaya naman in this subject, memorizing equations are not required. Hindi ko na kayo para pag-memorize ng mga equations or ng mga terms, hindi na eh. Instead of memorizing, what you need are skills in analyzing problem, in applying the conceptual theories to solve the problems. Okay? And then, kailangan nyo din to. Magaling dapat kayo mag-drawing, Drawing free body diagram. Okay? Sa physics kasi, pag nagbigay ako ng problem, mas maiintindihan nyo siya if you can see if you can imagine or if you can see the picture. Kung baka kapag drawing kayo ng free body diagram, mas madali nyo siyang didiskartehan kung paano sagutan. Okay? And then, kailangan nyo din ng skills in organizing your written works. Yung mga ipapasa nyo sa akin na output, especially sa modular, since handwritten yun, sa online kasi pwede nyo ipasa sa akin na computerized or Pero sa modular, no choice naman yun, so handwritten. Please be organized in your written works. Okay? Simple lang naman sa mga problem set, laging given, formula, and solution. Alright, so sa subject na tayo. What do I want to learn this semester? O what do you want to learn this semester? Ang iniisip nyo ba when you study physics is that you'll be able to know how to build a nuclear reactor, how to build a time machine or a lightsaber? Okay, so what do you think? What do you want to learn? Siguro some of you would want to learn about forces, would want to learn about motions kasi yun yung pinaka-foundation ng physics pag nag-engineering kayo. I'm sure mapapag-aralan nyo yun. Now, what your teacher wants you to learn, what I want you to learn, ano ba? Well, my answer is simple. By the end of this semester, I want to convince you that physics is the foundation of all engineering and sciences. Okay? It is the towering achievement of human intellect in the quest to understand our universe. We can actually divide this statement into two. First is that physics is the foundation of engineering and sciences, and second part is this, that physics is the fundamental way of understanding the universe. Okay? So let's take the first one. Relationship of physics to other sciences. Is physics really that important? Yes, it is. It's actually important because, alam nyo kasi class, physics is a central science. Okay? It's a central science. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng mga branches of natural science ay connected dyan sa physics. Okay? Iyon yung nasa gitna, kumbaga. Okay, so physics in relation to chemistry. Can we think of a specific topic in chemistry that has relationship to physics? How about gas laws? Okay? Boyle's law, as the provided that the temperature is constant, pressure goes inversely with volume. Naalala? Bakit ba mayroong pressure? Yun muna. Bakit ba mayroong pressure? Di ba pressure is the result of motion of molecules? At pag sinabi mong motion, physics pa din naman yun. Tama? For biology and physics, initial reaction nyo siguro, may relationship ba ang biology and physics? Meron, ano? Alam nyo, class, yung living organism still follows the laws of physics. May issue nga dyan sabi ng mga non-scientists, yung existence daw ng living organism violates the laws of thermodynamics, particularly the law of entropy. Sabi kasi sa law of entropy, disorder must increase with time. Ibig sabihin, as time goes by, dapat magiging disorder yung system. Tayo kasi as living organism, as baliktad, as time goes by, sabi ng mga non-scientists, nagiging daw tayong mas orderly. Okay? Imagine tingnan nyo na lang yung inyong structures, di ba? Very organized naman talaga yan. So parang it violates the law of entropy. Ngayon, ano ang sagot dyan ng mga physicists? It does not violate the law of entropy kasi kapag nag-grow and develop tayo, still, it is in the expense of the surrounding. Okay? So nagiging organized tayo as a living things, pero yung pagiging organized natin ay is a result of disorganization of our surrounding. Okay? Halimbawa, nag-consume ka ng food. For example, you eat a banana, ano? Yung mga atoms and molecules ng banana, carbohydrates, let's say carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, are very organized sa banana. And when you eat it, magiging siyang disorganized sa atin through digestion. Tapos, yung body naman natin will grow and develop, magiging organized. Ibig kong sabihin, magiging organized tayo, pero yung surrounding natin, magiging disorganized because of that. And in a long run, in a bigger picture, mas nag-i-increase pa din yung entropy kesa sa mag-decrease siya. Okay? So that's it. Alright, so how about for mathematics? Math and physics, syempre, related naman yan dalawang. Isaac Newton, imagine how clever Isaac Newton was. He invented calculus just so he can describe the path taken by a comet during the late 1600s. Imagine, yung mathematics during that time is not enough to explain the rate of change. Ayan, the rate of change. Kaya naman, he invented calculus. Okay? So, ganun din sa computer science, engineering, economics, even economics. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the field called econophysics. econophysics. Ginagamit din yung mga models ng physics para ma-solve yung mga problems sa economics. Anyway, try nyo, i-search nyo na lang. Physics and medicine, so syempre ganun din. How our human body operates at a molecular level, that's physics. How our muscle move, how papaano ba nag-relax and nagko-contract yan, di ba? It is because of the electrical signals coming from the brain, and those are electrons. Still physics pa din. Our arm follows the laws of equilibrium. Yan, physics. Eyes, syempre lalo na paano ka ba nakakakita? Light enters your pupil, absorbs monochromatic light, yung iba refracted, okay? Alright, so okay, so nagets ito relationship of physics to other to other fields. Okay? Engineering, sa mga magi-engineering sa inyo, lalo na electrical engineering, communication engineering, civil engineering. Yan, foundation talaga niya ng physics kasi mechanics talaga yun eh. So, the point is, why do you have to study physics? Not just because it is a requirement in your senior high school years, but also, it will help you in your college years. Okay? How about this one? Physics is the fundamental way of understanding the universe. Okay? So, papaano ito? If you want to understand the world that you are living in, then the best way to do it is through physics. Through science, but to be specific, through physics. Okay? Syempre, physical world eh. Paano mo ba i-describe yan? Madi-describe yan gamit yung mga physical laws. Right? How do you see the world? Say, you see a picture and what do you see? A rabbit, a plant, a bird, a sun? But how do scientists see the world? Okay, so as a scientist would see the sun as a glowing ball of hydrogen and helium that undergoes nuclear reaction to produce radiant energy, right? So, and then ayun pa din yung universal law of gravitation ni Isaac Newton, F is equal to gm1m2 over r squared. To say lang na gravity exists between the sun and the earth. Yung 3, I think that's photosynthesis reaction, It takes up carbon dioxide and releases oxygen. Sa rabbit naman, respiration, Tapos yung mga birds na lumilipad, momentum, kinetic, and potential energy. Okay, so that's the idea. If you understand science, if you understand physics, your world becomes three-dimensional and deeper. Okay? So, pag naging informed person kayo, mas maiintindihan nyo how our universe operates. Alright? A non-scientist would look at the night sky and see what? Stars, siguro Pero if you are informed person, if you are knowledgeable with physics, then you would understand na some of the stars that we are seeing at the night sky are no longer existent because some of them might already exploded. At ang nakikita mo na lang sa kanila are light which will take millions of years bago makarating sa atin, sa planets. Okay? A non-scientist would admire the beauty of a flame, of a campfire, halimbawa. Pero if you are an informed person, if you know chemical reaction, then what you will see is the molecules of oxygen breaking apart, releasing energy in the form of heat and light. Okay? How do you see yourself? What makes human special? How do scientists see himself? Siguro kasi if you are a non-scientist, you would think that humans are very special because we are capable of thinking, we are more evolved than other living organisms, and besides, we are placed at the center of the universe. So Probably that makes us very special, ano? Pero the way a scientist see himself, probably a chemist would say na, well, living organisms are just uh, mixtures that can be easily reduced into atoms and molecules. Totoo naman eh, 'di ba? We are made up of atoms and molecules and we can easily be reduced to that atoms and molecules. The term is reductionism. A biologist would see human being as an equal to other living organisms, to other animals. Okay, why? Kasi para sa mga biologist, lahat naman yan ng living organism, a human, a chimpanzee, a dog, a cat, they are all equally evolved. Wala naman kasi diyang more evolved than the other. Walang ganon. It's a misconception in biology. That's not how evolution works. Kumbaga, okay? A physicist naman, the way he would see himself probably is that that the human being and all the living organism is part of this universe itself. Okay? Kasi if you are a non-scientist class, you would think that the universe is very far from us. Pero ang totoo niyan, hindi eh, because we are actually the universe itself. Saan ba galing yung composition natin? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, some traces of other elements. Those were made inside the stars. Di ba? Stardust, kumbaga. Sabi nga ng isang writer, we are made of stardust. Okay? Through nucleosynthesis during the later stages of the life cycle of the stars. Pag naging supernova na yon, it will explode and then lahat na ma-accumulate niya na elements greater than iron, including the heavy elements, will be spread throughout the entire universe, which in turns will become nebula. Okay, and then the entire cycle will continue from. Well, the point is, I want you to remember that we are the universe itself. Okay. Alright, so Alan Watts, you are the universe experiencing itself. So, a bit of an irony there. Okay, when I studied physics, I realized that, this is purely opinionated, that the universe is elegant. And it is explained through mathematics, and that the laws of physics are comparable to divinity. Again, the last part, especially the last part, are purely opinionated, okay? So please, it's opinionated. I think physics is the most interesting subject. What do you think? Boring ba? Hindi kasi, wala eh. Because of the situation. Pero kung nasa classroom tayo, na kung sinasabi ko sa inyo, there are lots of activities na pwede natin gawin. Mag-i-enjoy kayo sana. But then again, andito na tayo. So, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, we have to adapt. Okay? We have to adapt. Well, what makes physics interesting probably is because of its application. Kasi kitang-kita siya sa surrounding eh. Kitang-kita mo yung mga applications niya eh. Tingnan nyo. As we cover more topics throughout this semester, I will give emphasis to first one, very important part. I will give emphasis to this. Misconceptions in physics. Ang daming misconceptions in physics na probably na-miss nyo noong hindi nyo nabigyan ng focus noong junior high school kayo. Okay? And then I will also give emphasis to common applications of physics in real life para at least kita nyo naman na merong tayong real life na applications. Okay? For instance, I like this particular misconception. The book lying at the top of the table is an example of third law of motion. What do you think? Example ba yan ng third law of motion? Well, most non-scientists thinks that it is an example of third laws of motion, but the truth is, book lying at the top of the table is not an example of third law. It's not. forces might be equal and opposite. Syempre, force of weight goes downward while the normal force of the table goes upward. Equal and opposite, but they are not action-reaction pair. Okay? Discuss ko sa inyo yan when we talk about laws of motion. A book lying at the top of the table is actually not an example of the third law. Okay? Especially kapag in-indicate mo na normal force and force of weight. Okay? It's not. How about applications? Mga ganitong applications, in ballistics, why do they make the bullet spin upon leaving the gun barrel? What do you think? Madidiscuss din natin yan when we talk about rotational dynamics, rotational kinematics. Okay? Before kasi nung nag-start gumamit yung British, siguro that was, I'm not sure, check nyo na lang, probably around 1700s, late 1700s, nung nag-start sila gumamit ng bullet. Ang bullet nila is not the shape of the bullet that we have today. Spherical yon, and it is not spinning. Okay? And then later on, binago na nila, nilagyan nila ng spiral pattern yung barrel so that when the bullet leaves the barrel, it will be spinning. And why is that? Oh, it's physics. It's physics. Okay? So, okay. Can you think of other applications of physics? Can you give some observations in your everyday experiences that is related to physics or science in general, things that you were once curious about? Okay? So, let's have a quick history. So, the first people who really wonder, who really investigates the nature of things, of their surroundings are the Greek philosophers, and they live from 600 to 100 BCE or before Common Era. And some of them are Aristotle, Democritus, Thales, and Empedocles. Aristophanes included. Although madami yan, the way they study things, the way they understand the physical universe is through reasoning. Okay? So paano 'yon? They just observe, and from that observation, they think, and finally they create some sort of conclusion. Okay? Let's give an example. Halimbawa, yung idea ni Aristotle that when two objects are dropped from the same height, two objects of different masses from the same height, they are dropped from the same height, the heavier one will hit the ground first. Okay? So by reasoning, yun yung conclusion niya, and by observation and by reasoning, yun yung naging conclusions niya. Okay? What do you think? Which one will strike the ground first? Yung mas mabigat ba o yung mas magaan? Okay? So ganun yun, reasoning. Compare dito sa mga modern scientists which lives from 1500s up to the present. To name a few, so you have Robert Boyle, Galileo Galilei, Isaac Newton, Benjamin Franklin, Albert Einstein. Now, these modern scientists, instead of using reasoning, in unraveling the mysteries in nature, instead of using reasoning, they have a very unique approach. And it is experimentation. Instead of just observing their surrounding, ang ginagawa nila, they are testing their ideas, okay, through experimentation. Kaya naman, kung makapansin ninyo, from 1500s up to the present time, just because of experimentation, yung technology and discoveries and invention biglang umangat. Okay? So imagine, from 1500s up to 21st century, for 500 years, sobrang dami nang na-discover. Okay? From 1500s, nag-start yung Industrial Revolution 'di ba? Simula nung ma-discover yung steam engine, dire-diretso na. Cars and planes and then late part nitong 1900s, around 1960s and 70s, from 1950s pa nga tayo invented na yung computers. The point is, from 1500 to present, ang bilis ng industrialization, just because these modern scientists tested their ideas through experimentation. Okay? Compare nyo yan sa Greek philosophers which existed from 600 BCE hanggang 100 BCE. They never tested their ideas. People just believe in them. Kaya naman from 600 BCE up to 1500s, which is more or less around 2,000 years, no? Kasi from 600 BCE hanggang 1500s, wala naman masyadong industrialization noon, Although may mga invention, pero most of those inventions are for wars. Napansin niyo para lang sa mga digmaan, kumbaga. In short, for almost 2,000 years, walang nangyari sa science and technology, just because these Greek philosopher never experimented. Okay? Ang point ko dito, class, is yung experimentation, the importance of experimentation. Because of experimentation, what happened? Nag-bloom yung technology, bumilis yung industrialization, ang daming na-discover. Alright? So, experimentation is just a step in what we so-called scientific method, modern scientific method. Okay? So, ito ngayon yung nasa baba. Scientific method starts from observation. Ganun lang naman yung ginagawa ng mga scientists. They observe, and then after that, from their observation, they construct a law out of it. Okay? And then from the law, you make a theory, right? Kasi ang law class, law is just a summary of an observation, It's just a summary of an observation. So hindi niya kayang i-explain yung underlying cause ng observation na yun. Let's give a concrete example for that. For example, universal law of gravitation. Ayun, universal law of gravitation. It's an observation made by Isaac Newton. Yung legend nga, if you're familiar with the legend that an apple fell to his head. I'm not really sure if that's entirely true, From that observation, he was able to make a law out of it, and that is the law of universal gravitation. An apple fell to his head, and then he concluded that probably the force that makes the apple fall is the same as the force that makes the planet revolve around the sun. Right? So from that observation, he constructed a law. Right? So ngayon, yung law naman na yun isn't enough to explain the observation. So kailangan mo ngayon ng theory to explain the law. Ano ba yung theory na kaya makapag-explain sa universal law of gravitation? Do you have an idea? Okay, the theory that explains the law of universal gravitation is Einstein's theory of relativity. Okay? So bakit ba nag-i-exist yung gravity? Bakit ba yung mga planets ay continuously revolving around the sun? Kasi naman theory of relativity, kasi naman yung space ay distorted. Distorted yung space. Kaya naman ang mangyayari sa mga planets, mag-move na lang talaga siya in circles. Okay? So ano naman yung mga experiment mo to validate your theory? Ano ba yung mga experiment diyan? Nabalitaan nyo ba yung yung gravitational waves? Yung gravitational wave, it further validate the theory of relativity, the warping of space and time. Okay? So what else? Ano pa yung ibang experiment dyan? Yung observation sa Hubble Space Telescope, na yung light na supposedly ay straight line lang naman sana, pero once it passed through near a heavenly body like a sun or like a planet, yung light na yon will bend. And that's because the space is distorted, it is bent, right? So it again, experiments validates the theory. Kapag hindi nag-jibe yung theory sa experiment, it doesn't mean na mali yung theory. Please, is this another misconceptions in science, ha? You don't confuse theory with hypothesis, right? So pag sinabi mong theory, accepted na siya talaga ng scientific community. Okay? Pag sinabi mong theory class, yung evidences niya is overwhelming that you cannot turn it down. That's the idea. Magkaiba siya sa hypothesis. Ang hypothesis kasi, di ba may research naman kayo. Yun yung pwedeng mali. Pero ang theory ay hindi. Theory is widely accepted ideas, concept. Okay? Maraming example niyan eh. Halimbawa ito. Which theory explains the law of conservation of mass? Right? Antoine Lavoisier observed that in any chemical reaction, the amount of matter remains the same. The amount of matter remains constant. That's law of conservation of mass. Ibig sabihin, nako-conserve daw yung mass kahit pa anong chemical reaction ang mangyari doon sa matter. So anong theory ang makakapag-explain sa law of conservation of mass? Well, it's none other than atomic theory. Kasi naman matter is composed of atoms that cannot be destroyed. Right? So ano yung mga experiments? Ano yung mga experiments to prove the atomic theory? Yung mga experiments on gases. Mga experiments on gases. What else? How about a theory that explains in biology tayo. How about a theory that explains the loss of heredity? Ayan. Bakit ba nalilipat yung traits from parents to offspring? 'Di ba hindi naman masasagot ni Gregor Mendel yun eh, kasi ang pinresent lang ni Gregor Mendel is the law, is his observation, Pero yung theory to explain the underlying cause of that observation, kung bakit nalilipat yung traits from parents to offspring, hindi niya kayang sagutin yon. Ano yung theory that can explain the law of heredity? Chromosomal theory, gene theory. Bakit nalilipat yung traits? Is because of in the genes, because of the genes, because of the chromosomes. Okay? So that's the idea. Okay na yun? Scientific method, law. Okay na yun ha? History, Greek philosophers, modern scientists, experimentation is vital to industrialization. And the scientific method, observation, law, theory, and experiment. Ito kung makikita nyo yung theory and experiment, yung cycle niya, yung interplay between theory and experiment is very central to science and technology. Diyan tayo nagkakaroon ng mga discoveries and inventions because of the interplay between theory and experiment. Hindi nag-jive ang theory sa experiment. Balikan na naman sa theory. You revise the theory. You revise pero hindi mo siya i-disprove. I-revise mo lang. Then balikan na naman sa experiment. Pag hindi na naman nag-jive yung theory sa experiment, you go back to experiments, you change the setup, and then cycle lang ng cycle yan. Cycle lang ng cycle until makadiscover tayo ng madaming bagay. Alright? So that's how science works. Especially in the field of medicine. Especially in the field of cell phones. Diba? Yung mga cellphone companies. Apple, Samsung. Yan yun eh. Theory and experiment. Trial and error kumbaga. Okay? So that's the idea. I think my slide decks are ending. Okay, so how about this one? Who is the most brilliant physicist of all time? So this has been debated by many people in the scientific community. Some say it's Isaac Newton, and others say it's Albert Einstein. And what they did is that they pushed them both, Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton, as the number one most brilliant physicist of all time. So nagkaroon ng tie between them sa number one spot. Sa second and third spot kasi madami na dyan like Niels Bohr, Marie Curie. Okay, now per my personal opinion, I would say na lamang lang ng sobrang kaunti si Isaac Newton because of the time. Imagine kailan ba niya inaral yung or kinreate yung Newtonian mechanics, 'di ba? That was late 1600s when he was I think 22, 23 to years old, ano? Tapos wala pang masyadong technology during that time. Ano lang ba ang meron nung 1700s, ano? Compare kay Albert Einstein na early 1900s nag-bloom talaga yung career niya sa physics. Okay? So I think it's Isaac Newton, pero sobrang kaunting lamang lang niya compared to Albert Einstein. Pero both of them are really brilliant physicists. They are ahead of their time, kumbaga. Okay? Right, so for the books, shinare ko naman yan sa Google Drive natin, no? We will be using those learning materials. So sabi ko sa inyo, unahin yung basahin if in case medyo kinulang yung handouts ko. Try to use the Basic Essential for Dummies. Sobrang gaan lang niya basahin kasi sobrang pinadali niya yung mga sample problems, yung mga explanations. Okay? You can also read this Applied Physics and yung Classical Mechanics na book. And then yung University Physics, medyo malalim lang yung content niya, pero pwede nyo rin gawing learning materials. And also this one, Cartoon Guide to Physics. Maganda siya very interesting. Kung mahilig ka sa mga cartoons, try mong, basahin mo na rin yan. I really recommend it. The Cartoon Guide to Physics. Sobrang masayang basahin because of the caricatures. Okay? Alright, so that's it. What else? Ano pa ba? Good luck for this semester. Sama-sama natin tong itawid because of this pandemic situation. Medyo naging pangit ang pag-aaral natin. But anyways, sabi nga ni Charles Darwin, kailangan natin mag-adapt to changes in changes in our environment. Okay, so that's it. And I'll see you next video.